lights and cameras on us today. But anyway, what's up, world?
Hey.
It's your boy Tyrone Morgan. I'm here today with another episode of the Soul Rehab Podcast. Let's go. Woo! We are in the Twilight Zone studios today. And we are super close and we super bright. Because I needed the light today. I'm sorry.
Yes.
For real though. I needed the light. But look, today is a special podcast for us. We are celebrating 1 year of doing our podcast.
Yay!
Woo! When we first started.
The first day.
Man.
Oh God, the first day. The preview came in my memories today on Facebook. I was like, oh my God, I remember. I was so nervous.
Me too. I would never thought. I knew we would make a year, but it's like when we first started, I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to do this every week.
Well, initially, no, we said we were going to do once a month, and then we just started.
Then we started once a week.
Yeah, we did. Before we get too far down memory lane today, we wanted to make sure that we introduce everybody that made this podcast as great as it's been. We want to introduce beside me the fervent servant, Miss Anisha Dawson.
Hi, y'all. I hope all of you are well.
And we have the voice of reason, Miss Frances Sutton.
Hey.
Oh,
How are
God.
you? I added how are
A
you?
little bit. 1 year down.
Yeah, it took 1 year to get a little bit
It's
extra. Only 1 year. So maybe,
Hey.
by the next year we'll have something else. I don't know. She just does what she wants to do. But you know what we should do? We should explain why do we have names.
Okay.
So, Francis, we're gonna get you started because you're on the other end of me.
With our names?
I was like the voice. Why did we call you the voice of reason? Why do we have the fervent servant? And why? Because the Lord really gave me some insight on what they are. Like the chosen one, which is something that y'all love to call me, but because literally I was chosen by God to lead the podcast.
I like to tell that story.
I'm sure.
I love to tell that
So
story.
go ahead and let you tell it. I'll
Okay.
tell the other one.
All right, so for the chosen one, it just hit me in my spirit about that. We had a meeting and you were talking about who was going to lead this podcast and who was going to be the leader of this podcast. Anisha and I knew we weren't going to be leading nothing. And so you gave us this great speech.
Great.
You pumped us all up and everything. And I still was like, that's nice. It sounds good. But I knew the Lord wasn't calling me to lead it. And it's important for you to stay in your lane.
Absolutely.
It is very important for you to stay in your lane. When you function outside of your lane, you create chaos. And I'm not that person. No matter how somebody was like, oh, y'all can do this. And what was it? I think it's my favorite thing. If you're not comfortable or something, you were kicking all this.
It was the best speech ever.
So I was like, okay. Anisha prayed on it. I prayed on it. And I was like, okay. And I think it was the very next day. The very next day, you said, I feel compelled or like God is calling me to lead this. And I was like, I know he did. Yes.
But what's crazy, though, is we were going back and forth in a text message and we were having a conversation and we were saying, it's him. It's got to be him.
It is him. And all of us are chosen, but you are the chosen one for this hour. And I just love that name because God's all chose us and he's all gifted us with different gifts. And that's about it on that one. But, yeah.
Well, I think that's good because so the one thing I will say about us in this podcast is so that we know our lanes and we stay in our lanes.
Oh, most
Absolutely.
We don't compete with each other about, I'm the talker of the group, of course.
Oh,
Most of the time I lead
Definitely.
a lot of the conversation.
Yes.
So I know that's my lane. And Anisha, she's the fervent servant because she adds a different perspective than what I do.
Most definitely.
And Frances keeps us straight. Because
Yes,
somebody
she
needs to keep
does.
me straight. That's why she's the voice of reason.
I'm the organizer.
Yeah, she don't want to keep us straight. But what we have developed over the time of doing the podcast is that we all learn to rotate our positions. So if they know more about a subject than I do, they're going to be the chosen one for that subject because I learned that I can be in another lane and operate well. You know, sometimes I'm the voice of reason. Sometimes I'm the helper, fervent servant in the podcast. So I think all of us have served in each role at some point in time, and I really think it has helped us grow in areas that we need to grow in. So I would say that even with the names and even like we know I'm chosen one. We know you the first one. We know you the voice of reason. We don't mind rotating roles when it's needed.
Right.
And I think that it adds a flavor to the podcast that you don't see because we're not never jockeying for position. You know, everybody know who they are. They do what they do well, and we have a great podcast. So I want to be thankful for that. I don't want us to overlook the fact that we have grown in and actually grown into our roles a lot because when we did the first podcast, I felt like it was a hot mess because it was like we didn't know what we were doing.
No.
It was like, and like honestly, like the story we got, like we were getting together to do a live on narcissism.
Just one.
Just one.
Just one, not a whole podcast. Just a live narcissism.
That's it. And it birthed into a podcast. And I think that when God does what he do, we can come in with an expectation and an idea, and then he'll change it for us. And so what he did with us is he birthed something that he knew that was going to happen. He didn't. If we'd have got together and talked, we were going to do a podcast. I don't think none of us would have been like, "Nah, we ain't signing up for that."
Not at that time.
Not at all. Not at all.
No.
You know, we tried to do it, and I'll be honest with y'all. The Lord told me we were going to have to do this every week, and I tried to do it once a month, and it didn't work. It's like, man, we need to do this more often. But so we've had some great moments. I want to shift a little bit. We've had some great moments on the podcast. I remember the first one. I was so nervous.
Gosh. Woo, honey, you were not the only one. Trust me.
It's crazy because when I say I'm nervous, most people never believe me because they think, you just talking. But I was nervous. If you pay attention to anything that I do, you can always tell when I'm either rubbing my legs or my arm or something. I do something to help cope with my nerves. But I can remember sitting in that first podcast like, I don't know what we doing. I don't know how this is going to look. But we're going to, because we did the first one live, didn't we? We went live on a Sunday, didn't we? We didn't record the first one, I don't remember.
I think we did.
We recorded the first one?
No, I'm saying I think
we went live. I think we went live on the first one. Because I remember we did it on a Sunday afternoon. And we went live. And I think, even with the day that we chose, like the Lord really like shifted me to move the day. And the recording has helped us. Because sometimes we have to record several podcasts at a time because of where you at. Because were you in Charlotte when you was in Greensboro, right? Where were you at?
No,
you was here.
I was still here.
Wow, great, daggone! In a year,
It's been a year.
Yeah,
I'm saying you done been to what, Greensboro, and then you in Charlotte. Wow, you been moving. So tell us about your life.
Well, it's been an interesting year, but I'll say this, it's been a lot that's gone on in the year, but I think if it was not for having you guys and this podcast, it's definitely been a blessing and very beneficial to my healing, and I'm very grateful. Oh gosh. But yeah, that first one, when I was so super nervous, because I remember I had been stuck at work for about 45 days since I was working in Sanford, and I was trying to get off, and I wasn't getting my staff in, and it was just crazy, and I was like, okay, I gotta rush, get to LaGrange, and then I got here, and I was like, oh, I was rushing, but I'm not prepared, like,
right.
I was just so nervous, like, I was fine, I think, until he actually said, we're gonna record, or you said, we're live, and I was like, live. Oh gosh. I think I was sitting so tight, I was so anxious, I did not know what to do with myself, but I don't know. As time has gone on, though, it's become a little easier. And I still get a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie.
No doubt.
But it's gotten a lot easier.
Yeah, I would say so. So Francis, being the voice of reason, what do you think the benefit for you have been for being the voice of reason over the year? You started out one way, but I've noticed even over the time that you start, even behind the scenes, you give a lot of insight to help keep us on track of the podcast. So, being the voice of reason, what do you think has been the benefit for your growth? Because there's been a lot of growth in you since you started the podcast. But I think that's because of your role and you accepting it. And so, how do you think it's helped you grow over the past year?
Let me see how I can say it. I was adamant about being behind the scenes.
Very.
You were.
Very adamant
Absolutely.
about not being a recording, and I think being pushed to the level to just allow God to use you. And I think just because I don't know, how can I say it? I think I want it to be so polished.
Mm-hmm.
When you're on camera, you want to be polished.
Right.
You're scared of how people are going to judge you, and just being able to flow and thinking of us just having conversation. And I think what has really helped me the most is when people message us and they say, "I needed that," or "That's what I was going through. You spoke something. You encouraged me." I think that has helped me to overcome my fear a little bit. I'm still scared. I still prefer to be behind the scenes, but I know that God has given me the gift of counsel and words to say, and just being more obedient to Him, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think really our ability to learn to be ourselves and not worry about what other people think as much really helps you, because that's what helped me. It's like, I'm gonna be me. You know what? Whether you like it or not, I'm gonna be me, and it helps me like embrace a part of me that sometimes I tend to hide, like being goofy. That's not a podcast you're gonna watch of ours that I'm not gonna be some kind of crazy loud laugh, out of tune, out of place, don't even matter. I mean, we be talking about something serious, I might go to laughing, but it's just who I am. And sometimes I used to try to hide it because I didn't think it was like, it ain't appropriate to be doing this. But I got to be me. And so the more, since this podcast, I've really grown into being more comfortable being me. And I think as we embrace that part of us, I think a lot of times we change, because perfection is like one of the hardest things to overcome. Because, and I was speaking on this one time, but I think we fear perfection. We want perfection so much because we talk about other people when they fail. And what I had to learn, that anything I do for God, there's going to be a period of time that I'm going to fail at. Failing does not mean failure.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So we have to embrace that. And so with the podcast, I don't edit a lot on our podcast, because if it, you know that, you know.
We know.
There's some big commercial bits that I made off some I admit that we did. Like, you gonna edit this out? I'm like, yeah, and I never do. Because what it has happened for me is it helped me learn that I don't have to be perfect, because we won't do what God called us to do because we want to be perfect in it. And you can't be perfect. You got to walk in that thing. You know, even learning how to interview people, and you know, being comfortable like having conversations, because I feel like the podcast has helped me become more able to express the way I feel about something easier, without me sitting in my mind like thinking like, man, I gotta have something profound to say, or something, you know, it's got to impact the people. I don't care. We having a conversation, and I want my conversation because I know what God put in me. And if I know He put it in there, when we have these conversations, it's going to come out. So a lot of times I built the ability to trust God with what I got to say, instead of always trying to think that I need to be profound. I've done lives and other podcasts with people, and I've tell them like, look, don't force nothing, don't try to be profound, sit back, relax, enjoy, and try to enjoy the conversation and just talk off the conversation, because I needed to hear that when I was doing mine. And sometimes, you know, you don't. We're going to laugh before we start. Most time y'all see us start recording, you're going to see us laughing, because I know it gets the jitters out for me, so I do it for other people. So, you know, I've noticed that we've grown a lot, and so we said we was going to talk about some stuff. I'm going to shift it again because it's off the fly. But some of our favorite podcasts, we've had some great topics, and I love all our podcasts. There's a couple that I come to my mind that I just really thought a lot of. And one of them is the Unlearning Church.
That was amazing. Amazing.
We had guests.
Was that the first time we had guests?
That's the
That's the first time we had guests. Oh my God, we had so much fun at that podcast. we did a whole podcast before it started.
Absolutely,
Then
that we
we-
should have had recorded.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we sat down and did, I don't know, we might have done 2 hours of taping. I had to break it up into like 3 parts, but it was so good, man. I mean, it was, it's one of them podcasts that help you shift the perspective of what you thought about church, and that's why I love
Absolutely.
it. Do y'all want to get some thoughts? Because I got a favorite part in that, but y'all want to get some thoughts?
Well, you already know one of my favorites was my girl saying, "Unlearn that." Like,
Man,
that was the
I
best.
learned that.
I'm gonna get that, and I'm gonna put that in there.
Unlearn that. Unlearn
I
it.
won't never
Amazing.
forget that. She's freed me.
But let me say thank you to Kayam Shepherd and LaShonda Perkins
yeah.
for being our first guest, and for we had an awesome time. And I think we just realized there was so many things that we learned growing up and just being in church and everything. We need to unlearn a whole lot of stuff.
Learn.
Oh my
that.
God,
I learned that.
it was crazy.
It was. So, Francis, you weren't a part of it because you had a family event that you needed to be to, and we made you go.
Yeah.
You're like, no, we
Yeah.
got it. and so I want to get your perspective of watching it after it had been aired.
It was just so good. Just hearing the different perspectives of pastors and ministers and just things that you learned growing up that was so wrong. And I think it's so important for you to know the Bible for yourself,
Right.
to read the Bible for yourself, to develop your own revelation, because a lot of things that we were taught growing up is so wrong, and we just keep on passing it down.
Yeah.
But it was just great. It was just, I think when we have guests, it's a different energy.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean, we bring a vibe ourselves,
Right.
but when we have guests, it's just totally different. And I just enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, I did too. It was. We had people that, I think we had people that had some different perspectives, and the energy we bring it was different. You know, you got a different energy from each person, and when you put them all together, man, it was. I mean,
was
we
amazing.
like we. I'm telling you, we literally was there maybe 3 hours, and the only reason we stopped is because Perkins had to do another event after that. You know, and so we want to we really want to thank them for coming, because they really didn't have to do that. They are very busy people.
Yes.
And they took the time to come support our podcast, and it really gave us a very memorable moment of the podcast.
Absolutely.
So, another one of my favorites. I think I like the title more than I like anything else.
Oh God, I already know
This
what
is
it
yours.
is.
We already know.
I already know what this.
It's Fighting with the Hot Boys.
I knew
Oh
it.
my God, I love that
That
title.
was fun. That
We
was
had
fun.
a good time doing that podcast. Man, it was so fun because really we made it. We had a funny name for it, Fighting with the Hot Boy, but we really addressed some serious issues in that podcast, and because we really addressed the issue of what it is to be, the thinking of being in relationships. Sometimes we get in stuff just to be in stuff, and so we hot boys is more or less guys who very popular or just out just doing whatever they do, living their best life. And thotting is the word is thirsty hoe over there. That's what that means, if y'all didn't know. But thotting is just being fast and not jumping from relationship to relationship and not really knowing what you doing. We told people they need to heal.
Yeah.
We was giving bad advice growing up that the best way to get over somebody.
Is to
Just
get
jump
under
into
somebody
the-
else.
That's what I wanted you to say.
That's what they told us.
Get
women.
it
The
in.
best way to get over one man is to get under another.
That's exactly what I want.
Don't
here.
believe the hype.
That's why the name was so crucial. Like because that's what we're taught. We're never taught to heal. We're never taught to take the time to see what's inside of us. And so once you learn to take that time, you become a better person.
Yeah.
Take time out to discover who you are and quit letting people dictate who you are. So I don't know if y'all got any moments y'all want to share about that, but that was I think the name alone was my favorite for sure.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
I think, too, with recording these podcasts, as you were saying, you have healed. Healing is a continuous process.
Right.
But I think with us, we have been transparent. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you see us being vulnerable. You've seen us cry up here, as well as laugh, and we've had some times where we really been crying up here.
After the
and-
podcast be serious.
And I mean, some of the topics, not that we're scared to talk about the topics, but some of these topics are hard
home.
and they hit
They are.
home.
They are.
And so we always keep it real. So you see us in our feelings sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You see us crying. You see our eyes red and puffy.
Right. And it's real, but I think that's a great transition to, like, and I know for sure which one was my hardest.
Mm-hmm.
Is the original reason we got together.
The narcissism.
The narcissism.
Absolutely.
That was super. I was in my feelings doing that podcast.
Yeah,
Yes.
I absolutely was.
Man,
as well.
it was. I feel it now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so when you deal with certain stuff and you go through it,
Mm-hmm.
we're taught to hide it.
Right.
And what it does, it becomes a shame spot for us. And so we're always hiding in the shame. And anything that you're ashamed of, you can never be healed from.
That's right.
And so the enemy wants us to say shame and not bring it forward. But what we do, and I knew it was a hard podcast for all of us.
Yes.
But I think what we do is the honesty part of it is like we talk from experience. I don't think we beat anybody up on our podcast, but we talk from experience so people can know, you can recover from that. Because sometimes, depending on how long you call in a narcissistic relationship, I'm not just talking about romantic, I'm talking about narcissist, period.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
I think we bring light to it because they, sometimes in our community people don't believe in stuff. But, once you start, because one of them, we really like broke down the elements of what
Yeah.
it is. And so now I can recognize that.
Right.
And that's the one thing that I'm proud of y'all about doing in that podcast. Like, we really took time and we studied that thing because it was
Yeah.
important for us. And so do y'all have any big takeaways or any insight? Because I know that was a hard podcast for all of us.
Just that ability to be vulnerable and to be honest. I share with everybody that I'm already in therapy, or I was already in therapy, but doing that was therapeutic.
It was.
It was very therapeutic. The fact that I felt like I was in a safe place. I could be vulnerable. I could be honest. Give people insight, because that's what we really want to do is bring awareness. We want people to be able to catch those red flags. Like, we don't want you to go through the things that we went through.
Right.
We don't want you to have to experience that. And if you already have, we want to make sure that you can heal too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Francis, you got something to add to that? Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay, so narcissists that's out there. Y'all know, I'm going to talk to the people who are recovering from it. Listen, it is not too late.
It's not.
You are not crazy. They are trying to make you think you crazy.
Absolutely.
Because they take their energy from who you are.
Right.
And so they do everything they can to tear down who you are to make them feel better about yourself. So if you experience that, for sure, reach out. Because because that's the main reason we end up getting
Yeah,
together.
absolutely. That was
I don't.
yeah.
If you experience that, reach out to us, because we don't care about doing another podcast on it, because even now there's still stuff I'm learning about it. And the thing is, you'll leave one of them relationships, whether it's family, romantic, work. You'll leave one of them relationships and you'll be stripped of who you are.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And when you become stripped of who you are, then the enemy his voice get louder because you don't know who you are. And really, if you go in it long enough, you become depressed. You become what's the word I'm searching for? Because we had a podcast on that. Well, you become depressed, and you have anxiety. You have
You can get suicidal.
Yes,
the whole
that's what I was
nine.
looking for. Suicidal, because you can do that because you've been stripped of everything you are, and now you start letting the person that's a narcissist speak. They speak life. Well, actually, they speaking death into you because they literally trying to
kill you. Absolutely.
Literally.
Kill you.
It gives them power to tear you down, to tear you apart.
Yep.
And that's another thing we were trying to highlight is people think, you got to be weak. No, they go for the strongest
Strong
person so they can rip them apart.
Yeah. And then it's the other thing they do. They're so good at what they do is that they get your friends.
your family,
Yeah, on their side.
honey.
Yeah, so it's
Yes.
like, so it's wild, and it's like,
They turn everybody against
Yeah.
you,
yeah,
or they try to.
they do, and and then that's a hurting part for the people who's going through. Cause then, so I get abused, and then I got to get abused from the people I love.
Yeah,
That's right.
abused, abandoned, betrayed,
Yeah,
all the above.
yeah. So you
So
know,
that's more depression, anxiety, and suicide.
yeah. You don't have your network of people.
Yeah,
Because behind the scenes they've been working against you, telling people certain stuff about you.
they've already made it look like you're the villain
Yeah,
and they're the victim
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
before they ever leave you alone.
Mm-hmm. And see, so y'all can tell this is one
Yeah, this is what we're probably gonna have to revisit.
Yeah.
because it still is. It's like it's healing. Like Francis said, healing is an ongoing process.
It is.
But I think something we said in there, we could go from being the victim to victorious.
Yeah.
I like
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that thing we
and you
said in
have
that podcast.
From victim
Yeah.
to victim.
Because you have to own,
Yeah.
like, okay, this happened. This does not mean that's who I am.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
I know who I was, and so I'm at this spot that I'm in. And the good thing about being stripped down, is that if you let God get hold of you,
Oh,
He builds
God,
you back
yes.
up, and when He builds you up, nobody can
could
tear
do
you back down.
Yes.
So I think that's the greatest lesson I got out of it, from going through the experience of it. So we want you to know that we are here, and we will revisit that soon, because I think it's super important for people to know, because you need a support group.
You do.
And even that's something else that I noticed that we build with us.
Yes.
We have become a support team for each other.
Absolutely.
We can kind of tell when one of us is being run down or we need to be poured into. And I think that a lot of times we foolish. That's for sure.
Yes.
Because we laugh a lot.
We
We
do.
But there are times that we like, okay, it's time for a session. We'll hop on Zoom or StreamYard, and we supposed to be recording, and we don't record
We
nothing.
never make it to the recording.
So because we need to be poured into.
That's right.
So that's something else that I feel like it's super important that we've got from the podcast is our
A
ability.
team.
Yeah, we know what, even without us always communicating, we
Right.
know what the other person weakness at. We know when they need to be built up, but that's only because
We know when to tell each other to side hand.
yeah, we do, and we have to tell each other that often,
Yeah,
very often,
pretty
because that's another topic. That's something that all of us share. And yeah, I am guilty.
Yes.
They stay on me about that. So
Rest. And,
yes, rest well,
Rest.
sir. Rest well.
Rest well.
But that's something else we share in common. We
Yes.
all have a mercy gift.
Yes.
And that,
Absolutely.
that mercy gift, I don't even know if I want. I'm gonna let y'all talk about the mercy gift.
I was going to talk about rest first.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it's so funny. We're so different, but we have so many of the same common similarities.
Mm-hmm.
We work hard.
Right.
We all work hard. We're involved in so many things. And you were saying sit down.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like we're so busy, but we're busy doing productive things,
Right.
and we're about kingdom, working for the kingdom. So Tyrone, you've always been busy.
Very.
Anisha, you're busy. And another thing with us is I think we're all family oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot. But you were saying the mercy gift. We never actually have done a podcast on that
ain't.
yet.
We're going to
But-
get there.
Yeah, we should.
Stay tuned for that one.
Yeah.
But all of us do have that gift of mercy, and whenever you have a gift, there's always positives and there's always negatives.
Absolutely.
So you just can't look at the positives. You also have to know the negatives
Mhm.
with that.
And one of the negatives that we have learned about the mercy gift that y'all stay on me and we stay on each other about is boundaries.
Yes.
Most definitely.
People with a mercy gift set terrible boundaries because we always feel like we can save somebody.
Yes.
And so we don't know when to stop. We don't know when to say no.
Absolutely.
And
We let people take advantage of us.
yeah, because we have a gift, mercy gift. We help people. That's what we are called to help people.
Yeah.
And so we know it. And so it's like even, some of us probably have gotten in relationships that we're supposed to be actually ministering to the person instead of being in a relationship with them.
Right.
You don't date. They say don't date an assignment. I had to learn that the hard way, and I'm
Obey
sure
the
y'all
assignment.
have experienced
Yes,
it
obey
too.
the
Yeah.
assignment.
Because you see what happens when you got a mercy, you see potential in people,
Yes.
and you see the good. You
Always
automatically see the good in people,
Yes.
and so you will put yourself in harm's way just because you see the good in people. And so when you have a gift like that, and here we go getting into singleness, so that's probably be my next topic. But it's important for you to know what gifting you have. We know we got mercy gift. Our mate can't have a mercy gift like we have. You know what I mean? Because who gonna help us set
Sure.
Yeah,
boundaries?
exactly.
You know, you got to have somebody.
You don't have no mercy.
Yeah, you know.
You don't have mercy.
Yes, for those he cares about.
Yes, no
Look,
mercy.
for those that he cares about, yes, he
Yeah,
does.
he does. But the thing is, he has mercy for you.
Yes, yes.
That's the
yes.
difference. He's not gonna let nobody wear out his.
And that's what
Yeah.
she
God called
needs.
him to.
And I love it.
Yeah, you know, because we suck at setting boundaries.
Yeah, we do.
And I think we have grown.
Yes, we have.
Some reluctantly, but some out of necessity.
Absolutely.
We have grown in this mercy gift thing. Because it's hard, because you naturally wired. It's like people can do you wrong. You know they done you wrong. They know you done them wrong, and you still can forgive them.
Yes. Yes.
And it's like
Yes.
I don't, you know, sometimes I don't like it.
Oh, me either.
You know, it's
Yeah.
it's kind of like a gift and a curse. It's like
Yeah,
I
it
don't
is.
like my mercy gifts because it makes me do stuff that I can't be petty like everybody
Right,
else.
absolutely.
I always got to be the nice one.
And that's the
I
thought.
always got to be
That's
the
the
one that
thought.
forgives.
I want to do
Yeah.
them just like they do me.
Right.
It ain't even.
And then
it's
in a
just a
minute,
thought.
you like,
yeah, it's just a thought. And it passes.
Yep. It's like I can't do it. So it's different. But that got me into one of my other favorite topics, which is cuffing season.
Cuffing season.
I
And
love-
this last one was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, I love cuffing season because I feel as singles we make a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
and we refuse to learn from them. And so if you don't pull out the lessons from what you went through, you will continue to repeat the cycle. And so we'll date a person with a different name with the same things that we've been experiencing with others, and we like, Lord, why do I keep going through the same thing? And he's sitting there like, you don't listen. Sit
That's
down
right.
somewhere.
Exactly.
Sit down somewhere.
Learn you, because it's easier for you to pick out what you need in a mate
Right.
when you know you, and us forever forsaking our healing, because most of us don't like healing because it makes us deal with something on the inside that we don't want to
Yes.
face.
Right. Absolutely.
I do not like laying in my own mess. I don't. But if I don't learn to do it, I don't never come to myself.
Right.
That's true.
And so we continue to make these crazy relationships decisions are based on how we feel, our preferences, what we think, you know what I'm saying? And so then when we keep getting in the same thing, we're like, Lord, why have you forsaken me? I'm not, he ain't forsaken you.
Forsaken you.
You
done it
did it.
yourself.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
made them decisions.
Yes.
I've been trying to show you, you keep making the same decision with a different name.
That's right.
You know, just
Keep
because they got
repeating the
muscles
same
and a
thing.
beard, and she got shape. She
What
shaped
we
like-
say? I said one of my preferences was chocolate.
Yeah, and
I
ain't
need,
worked
maybe
out
I need
for
to
it.
change my preferences because it ain't working in my favor. Try some caramel, some vanilla, something.
Yeah, you know.
That ain't it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. You have come to that like this is not working for me. I need to do something, and this is the season that you sat down.
Absolutely.
You know, you ain't trying
I'm
to push through
out.
it. Yeah, you like I'm gonna sit still because I'm tired of going through the same mess. So evidently, that's what you got to come to. Because I
Yes.
came to evidently I'm doing something wrong.
Absolutely. It's
It's
something
me.
in here or in here.
Right,
Or both.
right.
And I've got to fix.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
that's the importance of cuffing season. I mean, that's why it's a big topic for me. I think God sat me still in the single season for a reason, for me to learn and help teach people, you know, what it looks like. You know, because sometimes we don't recognize stuff because we don't know what it looks like.
That's
Just
right.
like dysfunction. You know,
Absolutely.
sometimes dysfunction we think that's how it's supposed to be, but we actually operating in dysfunction. I can remember,
And it's amazing how people thrive in dysfunction.
yeah,
Like,
because you used to it.
Oh my
I can
God, it's
remember
crazy.
saying that I did not know arguing was dysfunction.
because we grow up thinking that's the norm because we see it.
Yeah, you know, and it's disagreement is always going to be there,
Right.
but arguing is dysfunction.
It is.
You know, and so if nobody ever showed me that, I think it's normal, and so I keep repeating that cycle, and so we never grow. And I think that's something I love about our podcast because we'll bring some light to some
Right,
dysfunction. And a lot of times people don't know. It's like you literally don't know that it's dysfunction. It's dysfunction to argue every day. It's nothing. It's dysfunction to be nagging. It's dysfunction for us to. I can't. What is it? The Bible say?
Men can be worse than
nagger,
women with that
something
nagging.
about a man going to the top of the household
Yeah.
versus a nagging wife.
Yeah,
Go sleep on the roof or something.
yeah, something like
And
that.
I'd rather go sleep on the roof too.
And men, and that's
Like nagging.
and that's something else. Men can be like that.
Yes.
Men can pick up tendencies like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, we equal opportunity. We beat up on everybody, including ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because we talk about some bad decisions that we made ourselves.
Yes.
And so we really, you know, it's called the Soul Rehab Podcast because, you know, the soul is our mind, will, and our emotion. And we feel like God has put us as counselors to be here to help people heal their mind, soul. What did I say? Mind, will, and emotions. Oh, there you go. I lost track of thought. I do that a lot. But, you know, we're here for that.
Right.
And so if we don't experience stuff, sometimes we don't know what it is to go through it.
That's true.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best way to teach things to other people. How you know? I mean, you can study stuff, but if you've lived it,
Yeah.
lived it, experienced it. I've walked.
there's no greater experience.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, no.
I think it gives us a deeper insight.
Right.
Because
Right.
you like being in a bad relationship. There's some nuances to that thing that if you ain't never been in it, you ain't gonna know. It's
Right.
like why you still struggling? I ain't gonna say that. You know, you won't hear me say that because I know how it is to not be able to function. And so I think it gives us the insight to how the person feel. And so it's kind of like with grief. You know, sometimes people try to rush you to get over your grief, but sometimes we know that cycle. We know there's a cycle to it because we actually grieve some stuff on a high level, and so we understand the cycles. It's like, you know, sometimes you're good, sometimes you're not, and sometimes it can be 2-3 years, and sometimes it can be just moments. So we understand that because we grieve stuff at a high level, and so when I see people going through it, I don't never have the incapacity of not being able to like, okay, I get it. Even I know that I think you should be moving on from here. I get it.
We have that
That's the
empathy.
Yeah.
We have that empathy for people.
Yeah, and it's important. That's something that God also showed me about, like us. Like we have to care for people where they're at.
Yes.
We can't, as bad as we see stuff when we go through stuff, we still have to be able to see the good in people. Somebody has to do that. Jesus sees the good in us, no
Yes.
matter what we do
Yes.
wrong, what we feel like we ain't got right. He actually sees the good in us, and so that's why we're here. That's why He put the mercy gift on this earth.
Yes.
You know, some people it's harder for them to have mercy, but when you got the gift, you can. That's how you can always say you got the gift of it. It's hard for you to stay mad at people.
Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
But
Be
sometimes-
hot as fire, boy.
Yeah.
Then the fire sizzles.
Exactly. And it don't burn long because I mean you just don't have it. But you know what I found out with that gift is that it's really, if you think about it, that's a gift that Jesus had.
Yes.
He had that gift, and so you really are. I'm not saying you special, but that's a gift that everybody don't have.
Yeah, everyone doesn't possess that.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think you can grow in it, but actually to have the gift that is easy for you to forgive people, it's a gift. And so what the enemy does, he make you go through stuff so he can hopefully steal that gift from you because it's valuable. Because what it does is you able to forgive people, and people like they sitting there. Look, listen to me. I want y'all. As a matter of fact, look at this camera. Good. If you have done something wrong to somebody, that same person you done wrong will probably be the person that you need sometime in your life, because God is not like us. God will, you know, He said He make a table in front of your enemies, and sometimes that table is you have to be the person to help that person that did you wrong, and they got to see that and know that they did you wrong, and you the only one there that's a help them. And so God knows what He's doing. We can't, we might want them dead or something like that, but God is gonna make them. He know how to sit them in there, and He know what to get to them, so He can get the glory. That's why vengeance is God.
That's right.
We don't take vengeance, and
That's right.
and we can't let the enemy steal our mercy gift from us. And so while we do this podcast, y'all are watching us grow. We are learning from each other.
We are.
You know, we, like I said, we love our guests. We
Mm-hmm.
love. We want to have more guests because
Mm-hmm.
guests bring a. You know, we actually literally love guests.
Mm-hmm.
They bring a different element to the show. They bring a different perspective, and so while I'm thinking about that, let's see who we had. Who have we had? We've had
We had
teachers.
the teachers edition. We've had gosh,
We did.
we did backsliding,
Yeah, we did. Backsliding was good.
and that's about it.
Yeah, we did independent women because
Yeah,
we did that,
independent women.
and they were good podcasts because we got different perspective from what we thought. And even with that, you know, we even counseled through them sessions of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so, and the reason why I wanted to make sure we do this, and I'm not gonna do all the clips like I thought I was gonna do, but I really want people to know us, to know why we do this, and how we feel about continuing to do on the podcast because I think it has grown to be something that is very important for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ministry that outside the four walls of the church
Mm-hmm.
is something that people can feel comfortable to see us on the streets and come up and talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
It is it's just and then even having people as guests, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they become unforgettable guests. You know, we love people because we have a mercy gift,
Mm-hmm.
and that mercy gift is it's sweet. And
Can I
I'm
say this? I love church. I really do.
yeah.
But I love being able to do the podcast. I love when we're out in the community
Mhm.
serving. Even if we're at a funeral.
Right.
I
Yeah.
feel like that is really the work.
It is.
Now, please don't forsake me for saying don't go to church.
Yeah.
I'm
Right,
not saying
right.
we
No,
all
we're
go
not
to
doing
church.
that.
Absolutely.
But what I'm
Faithful to go to
saying,
church.
this, yes, very faithful. I'm very faithful. We're all faithful. But what I'm saying is, I don't know, my drilling and just pumps when we're out
Yeah,
in the
when we
That,
out.
community.
that marketplace ministry
Yeah.
is something
And
different.
we're out
it
there.
is.
I just feel so good. I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and
Fulfilling your purpose.
yeah,
Absolutely.
fulfilling my purpose, and it just I feel more better.
Oh yeah, I do too.
When we're out there and we're serving and people are coming up to us, or you know, that card that we're sending in the mail, or you know, somebody just about gave up, but you know, we were there for them.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it's really made me more passionate about wanting to do ministry because I've always like ran away from it.
Right.
But when I'm able to function in my real true calling, it's just this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
You just hit the nail on the head with that running from ministry part.
Yeah. Because, and this is way off what we talking about, but it's because we have a vision of what it looks like, and that vision, like, man, that ain't me.
Woo.
That ain't who I am. You know what I'm saying? And so you would run from it because it don't look like what you thought it. You know, you don't want to look a certain way. Like, I ain't gonna be no pastor. I ain't gonna be no preacher. You know what I'm saying? But what happens is,
I
go
think
ahead.
for me, one of the things I have is I don't think people will receive it because it's me. You know, that's one of my biggest things.
That's the enemy though, because what he does is he wants us to be scared to do it. I'm called to minister to men, but one of the worst things that I've experienced happened to me through a male relationship, and so I'm skittish of letting men close to me. You know what I'm saying? So I found that the enemy only is going to attack you he's only going to steal what's valuable, right?
Right.
He's not going to come in here and take your dirty underwear. He's going to come in your house. He's going to take TV, shoes, clothes like that. So he's going to take what's valuable. And so what he does is when we go through stuff, it tends to steal something valuable from us. So whatever he's attacking you at is really where you're supposed to be ministering at. So he don't want the person to get deliverance from you. So I'm gonna make you think that, well, you ain't gonna listen to you because it's you. And I ain't gonna let you become a mentor to men because you know you went through this. And you can't let nobody get but so
Right,
close to you.
right.
No, like, you gotta take that back and don't, because I don't know if any of us is as confident in what God called us to do as we think we are. And so I find that if I let God do Him, and I just be a vessel, because that's what everybody say they are.
That's what's gonna have to
I'm a
be.
vessel, and half of us not a vessel. We are the person. We want to be the person who fill the vessel. No, we're supposed to be a vessel and let God fill us. And so when we get comfortable in knowing that He'll fill us, we'll be who we're supposed to be. And I think that's what I think really the podcast has really grown that in all of us. Because I always knew my call was different, but I have not always like fully embraced it. Because it don't look like nothing I seen at church. So I'm like, man, I don't know if this God or is it me. You know, I just struggle with that a lot. But I don't have that struggle. I'm really learning like, okay, this is God. This is how He want to do it. And I'm at the point that I refuse to do it like somebody else.
Right.
Right.
I can't do that because that ain't what God called me to. Because
That's
if
right.
if I'm gonna take the chance to burn, I'm gonna do it on what I think God is showing me instead of trying to be in a box of what other people think. There's
good.
too many people out here,
Being
and that's why,
imitators,
yeah,
copycats.
yep.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I think this podcast is here, because God wants you to be able to see that He's given us our personality. He's given us not just our strengths, our weaknesses for a reason.
Right.
And when you become prideful, is that you don't want to recognize that you have weaknesses.
Right.
And so that's when, you always set up for failure, because you always want to be what other people see. I want to pray like them. I want to preach like them. I want to teach. No. God has given you a way to do stuff. Even from God has even told me the way He wanted me to talk. Like, how some teachers and preachers, they all up and down here holler. God, He never told me to do that.
Right.
He keeps me in a lane, because I don't think y'all don't know. People don't realize how intentional God is with what He gives us. There's a cadence He like really showed me how to talk and teach, because this is what He told me. He said, I don't want you to talk to their physical ear. I need you to talk to their inner
That's
ears.
right.
And so there's a cadence that goes past what you physically hear and goes into your spirit, which sows a seed, and that seed will come up eventually. And so that's why we have to be, and I don't think that's a gift for everybody. I
Right.
think that people He called to be able to do that. So that's why it's important for you to pay attention to what God is doing in your life, instead of
right.
trying to be a copycat of somebody else. And so, I don't know, I feel like we've been up here a while.
Yeah, I was wondering when we were going to end it.
But
Well, we didn't go through a lot of the topics. I mean,
No, we
just
didn't.
went through.
We
We did enough.
I think we done what we normally would do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna talk. We're gonna make sure that we do add value to the consumer, the person who's watching this.
Right.
We want to. Matter of fact, we want to end this with thanking y'all. We know that there's a lot of stuff that people do on live and online, and we just want to thank you for being a supporter. If you only watch it once, or you only watch the commercials, we just want to still thank you for being a support. If you ever shared anything, if you ever liked or loved anything that we done, we want to make sure we thank you, because we do this for you. If you want to be a guest, let us know. We love guests. Come through. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. We'll have just a general conversation. If you want to, hey, you know what? I'm feeling gracious. If you want to think about becoming a part of the podcast, reach out to us. We want to talk to you and see how you can fit the team, because we don't want to just be adding people to be adding people.
Right.
We want to add people that is going to bring something to the team that the team needs. And we kind of know what we need.
We do.
We do well with what we have, but there's some areas that we can have somebody to help. But you're gonna have to be. We need you to be committed.
Absolutely.
We need you to be free-minded, as in not worried about what everybody thinks. And we need you to be teachable, because we all need to be teachable.
Absolutely.
So if you feel like this is something you look into, come meet with us. We'll have a conversation. We'll talk. And we see. I don't know why that was in my spirit. Maybe somebody wanted to be a part of this podcast.
Maybe.
Yes.
And we want to make sure we include you, because we like it. We do it a lot. Sometimes it can feel like it's a burden, but I think anytime you're doing the work of the Lord, some stuff is gonna feel heavier at times than other.
It is.
And I want to thank y'all for sure. One, for putting up with me, because I'm different.
In Jesus' name.
I'm a different I'm a different kind of guy. But I have seen y'all push through, feeling bad, push through your emotions to try to make sure this podcast happen. And I want to really let you know I appreciate that, because I know it can be hard. I have emotions, and sometimes I had to push through mine. And so in this season, I think we have been a great blessing to each other.
Yes.
Absolutely,
And
man.
I like to
Absolutely.
laugh and joke and cut up, but I want to be serious about this, because I want y'all to know that I really appreciate y'all. Y'all give me y'all give me a perspective with women that, you know, sometimes I don't like to have to put up with, but I do. They don't know how to feel about that. That's why I said it like that.
I'm actually excited what's to come in our lives.
Right.
Absolutely.
I know God has taken us to a different place,
Mm-hmm.
but I also want to say, if you do want to be a blessing, He'll pin the Cash App too.
Oh, no doubt.
If you want to be a blessing to this ministry,
Yes.
it takes money to
It does.
finance ministries,
Yes.
and I'm grateful for my team
Absolutely.
that pushes me to greatness.
No doubt.
And just grateful to be a part of this, and excited to what God is going to be doing.
It's crazy that I've known this one since high school, and I've known this one basically all my life.
Mm.
And who thought we would be doing this
A
together?
podcast.
Like,
Never.
this is not what I never saw this coming. But I'm
No.
very grateful for both of you. This one right here, she keep me in check. This one tap dance on my nerves, and I keep him in
No doubt.
check. But I'm very grateful.
I have fulfilled my purpose.
You
in my
have.
life.
You too.
Oh my God.
And both of their lives, I get on both of their nerves.
Yes.
For sure. And I own it. I like it sometimes.
It's necessary though. Please,
Yes,
please don't
yes,
think.
yes.
You know.
And we get on his nerves too.
Most definitely. That. Yes.
I'm
that-
offended.
that-
Oh my God.
But,
yeah.
listen, y'all. We
Have
wanna
I helped you
thank-
become more organized?
Yes. Somebody needed to. Man, I am
Girl,
terrible.
thank you, Lord.
She has been a calendar, like she one of them people that, you know, the alarm that you get on your, if you got an iPhone, that's how her voice is. Like, did you
Oh my
do
gosh.
this? I'm like, man, you know, did you put this on your calendar? I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
Most
really.
definitely. Most definitely.
But I need it.
You doing too much.
Yeah.
How many functions you got on
Overbooking
this?
and everything.
Overbooking.
Not resting, yeah.
But I need it, and I appreciate it. I am, I don't know. Growth is necessary.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes, yes,
And it's nice to know that God put people in your life to help you grow in areas that you need to. And so I'll say that with the closing of the podcast for this week. We want to really be thankful for a year of
Yes.
doing something, taking time out of our schedule, busy schedules that
Yes.
we have, to do the podcast and try to be a blessing and do the work that God has called us to. I don't think we super religious in what we do. I think we more about the people and making sure we have some difficult conversations that you normally wouldn't hear. Being vulnerable about stuff that most people try to keep secret. So because we want to help people, and so I think we've done the biggest goal of this podcast, which is to have conversations that will help bless people come out of areas of darkness that they're in, so they can be healed. And so as we move forward to the future of this podcast, I think that God is telling me that there is greater works to be done.
Absolutely.
There's a harvest of people that's out there that will not be reached if we don't go get them.
Yes.
Um,
Amen.
I think in this season He is bringing up workers
Mm-hmm.
to get the harvest,
Yes.
because most of the workers are in one place and not going to get the harvest because they scared what church is going to say about them. And so I think God is opening up a season of people that are unknown that will do it the way He wants it done.
Yes.
And so I think we are them people. And so I think in the next year, I may not, y'all may get so big time you won't even be able to do my little podcast with us.
Oh my gosh.
Come on, let's do peace out.
Be true.
Let's do
See.
peace out.
This is what we have to stay on
Anyway,
here.
I will be facetious. They better not never get too big. We can't do this
I know that's
podcast.
right.
Amen.
Anyway, we may have to cut down the times a week, but we're going to do this podcast.
Amen.
So anyway, y'all, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for support. And in part, we always like to wish you peace,
Peace out.